Hello, I am Danielle, and this is my final presentation for the CIT 260 course. First of all, I am going to explain a little bit about static class variable versus a non-static class variable. So right here on the right we have two snippets of code, and in the first snippet we can see that all of these variables actually were declared as static. It means that this variable belongs to the class itself and not to an object, not to an instance of this class. So I can use this current game. I can set a value and use this value without having to reference to create an instance of this class. I can simply call the class current game, and I will have access to this variable. So it happens also with all of these variables that were declared as static. What is different with this snippet down here? The player and the map variable were just declared as private, and they're not static. They're a non-static variable. To have access to this variable, I have to create an object of the game class, and then I have to use getters and setters to access this variable to set a value and retrieve this value back. So this is the main idea of static class variable and non-static class variable. Usually static class variables are designed to act like a global variable where I can use in different locations in my project. Down here I have array, ArrayList, and enum. These three are types of lists. First of all, right here in the left, I have an example of a enum class, and basically an enum is a list that will never change. It will always be the same in any moment. These lists are good to use when we're gonna have a list of characters, for example, in the game that these characters are not going to change. They will be the same during the whole game. So I can create just an enum, and I will always have the list in the same order that I created. Right here I have an array. I have the tools array. I used the new definer to create a new tool array of 5 elements. Down here I created some objects of the tool class, and then I used the tools array to add a value. For example, here it's a good example because I'm using two types of lists. First, I'm using an array, and I'm using a tool type that is an enum to access the index of that specific item in the tool type enum list, and I've used the ordinal to retrieve the value of the selected item in the enum list. So basically, I create an array using the new and the brackets and telling the number of items pertaining to that array. Then I create some some tools object. I get tool to tool 2, tool 3, and till I have 5 elements, and I add them in the tools array. And right here I have an example of a array list. It's interesting because here I'm also using two types of lists. First, I create an array list of the type actor, and this variable is called actors, and I initiate as a new array list. Then I use the add method that pertains to the array list class, and I add an object. In this case, it's an a actor. So I'm adding 2 actors, and then I have a location, and the location has a method called setActors, and I'm getting the list and putting it into the location variable. Just checking the time. All right, let's move on. For statement and index. So here I have a snippet to show what I'm going to tell. First of all, I initialize the variable I. This is going to be my index. I create also a condition, and as long as this condition is true, I will keep iterating. And here the third part is the incrementation. I will add 1 to the index every time the for iterates. So when this condition is no longer true, then my for is going to stop. And right here between the curly brackets, I have the code, I have the action. So it's very simple. First, the index is initialized as 1, and then it checks to see if this condition is true. If it is true, it will add 1, and it will execute the code. Then it goes back and see again if this condition is true. If it is true, it will add 1 and execute the code, and once again until this condition is no longer satisfied. Now throw, propagate, and catch. Right here I create an example of a barrel control exception that's going to extend the exception to create a custom exception class. So I create this exception here, and I'm using this exception to throw an exception. So here I create to throw a new exception once the diameter is less than 0, and I propagate this exception, and when I use the method, I surround it with try catch to handle the exception. So once also the parameters, the arguments, or the function doesn't run as expected, and I have created previously a condition to throw the exception, I will get the exception. I'll get the message within the method. So it's very interesting. How can I create custom exception classes? I can propagate them to be caught by in the execution once one of these arguments are not satisfied. Character stream versus byte stream. So right here I have an example of character stream. I'm writing a whole object to a file, and I'm throwing an exception here if it doesn't run as expected. I created here a try that doesn't need to close these two objects because it will do it by itself. And here just use the write object to write the game object. So that's basically this. I have an output stream that I'm going to use I'm going to use as an argument to create my object output stream. All right. So moving on, I'm going to talk about writing a character data to an external file. I created here a method that is going to ask the user to enter previously is going to ask for the file path, and is going to check whether the file path is correct or not. Then if it's not correct, it's going to throw an exception, and moving down it's going to enter in a try catch block, and it's going to initialize two variables, a file output stream, an object output stream, and then I'm going to iterate through the actors, and by each iteration I'm going to write this I'm going to write the object into the object output stream, and I'm doing it by calling the write object. And down here I'm just calling this method to really execute it. Here I'm creating, and here I'm calling the method to execute it. So it's basically that. Previously I called the method, I asked the user to enter the file path, and once it's entered, then I'm just going through I'm just going to execute the game, the method. Alright, so I'm going to run my game here. I still have a couple minutes. So first of all, I'm going to enter my name, Danielle, hit enter. Here I got a welcome message. I can start a new game. I'm going to start a new game. And here I have my main menu, and I have my options, and I can do a couple of things here. I can quit, and I'm going to go back. I'm going to start a new game again. I can see the map, V to see the map, and here I got the map. I'm going to go through the notes. So first of all, I'm going to design the barrels, for example. Then I can select one type of item that's going to be within the barrel, inside the barrel. I'm going to choose grain, for example. I'm going to enter the diameter. I'm going to enter the height, and here I got a message showing some specifications about it. I'm going to quit. For example, I'm going to construct tools, press C. I'm going to choose X. Item added to the inventory list. Now I have one axis, and the inventory, I'm going to choose axis again, for example, axis again, hammer, 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 I don't know, sickle, sequel. Oh, got this problem here. Anyways, I can save the game. Put here save game. I got this error message, but I see that when I save the game, it actually saves it. It's here. As you can see here, it creates the variable, and it stores the things I had to. So that's it. Thank you so much for watching. I don't have any time longer. Thank you so much. This is my presentation.